first half of the MLB season has officially come and gone, and now it is do or die time for every single team that is still hoping to make the playoffs this season. And while every team needs good play from pretty much their whole team to have a good run down the stretch to make it to the playoffs or bolster their seed that they're going to get in the playoffs if it's already a foregone conclusion that they're making it, while that is true, there exists one player or one asset for every team that's in the playoff race right now, that they absolutely need. Like, it is a non-negotiable for that player or that specific part of the team to play really, really good baseball down the stretch. And now this is actually going to be a bit of a longer video than you would think, because right now there only exists a few teams that I don't think really have a shot to make the playoffs right now. And so I'll go ahead and get those out of the way. The teams I won't be talking about in this video because I think there's no shot they make the playoffs are the Los Angeles Angels, the Kansas City Royals, the San Francisco Giants, Colorado Rockies, and New York Mets. All right, so the first team that I will be talking about in this video is my Baltimore Orioles and our superstar shortstop Gunnar Henderson. So the Orioles currently stand 2 games out of a wild card spot in the American League. And for the Orioles, Gunnar Henderson this season has been not very good at all. This is a guy who the past couple seasons looked like one of the best players in the world. And this season, he has looked exactly average or even a little bit worse. And especially now that Blaze Alexander, who had been playing incredible baseball in the infield for the Orioles this first half, he's going to be gone for at least a month and a half. And so the Orioles are now going to need even more production from Gunnar Henderson in the second half of the season. And he's definitely capable of it, because if we remember his 2023 rookie season, the year where he had an incredible season, won American League Rookie of the Year, that season he didn't have a very good first half. But in the second half, he played really, really good baseball, and that really helped the Orioles to make the playoffs and get the seed that they ended up getting. So Gunnar is definitely capable of playing good baseball down the stretch this season, and the Orioles are really going to need him to. They're really going to need him to show out if they want any chance at playing October baseball this season. All right, so next up we have the Boston Red Sox. And their player that I'm going to say needs to have a monster second half is going to be outfielder Wilyer Abreu. Now, Abreu has been one of the Red Sox better pieces since he entered the league in 2023, and he's having a solid year this year. But the problem with the Red Sox is that another stud outfielder that they have, Roman Anthony, he's injured right now, and I don't exactly know what time he's going to be back. And the Red Sox really need good production from the offense because they've been playing really, really good baseball this season. And I think even with the outfield problems, like with Roman Anthony out, you could also say Jarren Duran needs to step up. And I think he definitely does, but I don't know how likely that is because he's been downright awful this year. But the thing with Abreu is that he's such an electric player that he can like build an identity for the team. Maybe not like an identity for years to come, but he can like be the player that puts the team on his back, at least the offense, because I think he's got the best shot at doing that of anyone on this offense. He is a really, really good player, and the Red Sox are definitely going to need him to show out and start playing like really, really good baseball, officially break out as maybe like a top 20 outfielder in the sport if he's not already, if they want to continue this hot play that they've been having the last month or so, and then bolster their opportunities of making the playoffs. All right, so we have our first player of the video that plays for a team that is currently in the postseason picture, and that is Jazz Chisholm Jr. of the New York Yankees. Now, the Yankees offense looked like it was really going to suffer without Aaron Judge after he went down with a really bad injury. And at first, they looked really, really good. It looked like they didn't even need him because people like Ben Rice and Paul Goldschmidt were playing incredible baseball. And Ben Rice has still been solid, but the Yankees offense, they went on like a 15-game streak of not scoring 4 or more runs in a game. I don't know if it was exactly that number, but it was around that. The offense just looked downright terrible, and they've fallen out of first place in the AL East, and by a pretty significant margin at this point. Like, playoffs are not a foregone conclusion for the New York Yankees this season. And a big reason for that is because the offense has not been able to pick up the slack that Aaron Judge left when he went on the injured list. That's the right term for it. And a big reason for that is because Jazz Chisholm was supposed to have an incredible season. He was supposed to be one of this team's best offensive players, but he's been really bad this year. And like they're just going to need their players who are not playing well right now to step up, especially guys who were like already supposed to step up early in the season, like Jazz Chisholm. They're going to need him to really like pick up his play down the stretch if they want to start winning ball games again. So next up we have the Tampa Bay Rays, who actually took over the New York Yankees and are now first place, not just in the American League East, but currently hold the number 1 seed in the American League playoff picture. And they don't really have any issues with this team. The pitching's been really good, led by dominant forces in the rotation like Drew Rasmussen and Nick Martinez. And in the bullpen, they've had a shutdown back into the bullpen with one of the best closers in baseball in Brian Baker. And the offense has been really, really good, being led by guys like Junior Caminero, Yandy Diaz, Jonathan Aranda, etc. Caminero did have a little bit of a scare yesterday, getting hit in the hand in the All-Star game, but X-rays came back negative. He's just day-to-day at this point. But one thing that looks really weird about how the Rays have been so good this year is because their main offseason acquisition in outfielder Cedric Mullins has not been very good this year. He had like a 580 OPS in June, like at some point in June. But the good thing is that he's really, really started to pick it up. And I think that's when they've started to win more baseball games. That's when they've started to actually get better. So if that's what's like, if Cedric Mullins not playing well was what was keeping them back, then if he just keeps playing well, then this team can unlock its full potential and just like really dominate the American League and become the team to beat, the team with the biggest target on their back. So next up, we have the final team in the American League East, the Toronto Blue Jays. They're currently last place in the American League East. The Orioles just took them over for 4th place right before the All-Star break. And what the Blue Jays are really going to need is they're going to need good play from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. That's it. Like, obviously, they're going to need more stuff, but that is the sole biggest thing that they need, because they just gave this man $500 million, and he has been average at best this season. He was elected to the All-Star game as a starter because of stupid fan voting, but he took the All-Star game off because he needs to recuperate his back, which maybe that is the reason why he wasn't playing well, was because they need him to play every day while his back wasn't 100%. But the fact of the matter is he's been not good this year. And if their $500 million player, the face of their franchise, is not playing well, they're not going to be playing well. And so if he can actually get it figured out, that is going to be really good for this team. If he can't get it figured out and keeps playing like this, that is going to be really bad for this team. Okay, so moving on from the AL East, we now go to the AL Central with the Chicago White Sox. And for them, I'm going to say Eric Fetty, even though their pitching has been a lot better this season. Because this offseason, when the White Sox were making big moves, I was like, okay, I think their offense is going to be really good, but their pitching is going to be what holds them back. Right now, they have the second best, I don't think second best record actually, but they have the number 2 seed in the American League. And the offense has been everything they could have dreamed of. Murakami, Montgomery, Vargas, Maedroth, Antonacci have all been incredible. But this pitching really needs to get it going. And Eric Fetty is like supposed to be the ace of this team. Supposed to be the ace of this rotation. So because of that, the White Sox are going to need him to show up and show out, pitch well, so that they can start winning more ball games. Moving on to the Cleveland Guardians, and this is going to be one of the biggest ones of the video, and that's going to be outfielder Steven Kwan. I say that it's one of the most important ones of the video because the Guardians have been so good because they're such a scrappy team. And at the core of those scrappy Guardians teams these past few years has been Steven Kwan. Ever since he came up in 2022, he's been incredible at just being a scrappy player, being like a big part of this team's scrappy identity. And he has been awful this year. I'm pretty sure he has the second worst qualified OPS in Major League Baseball, so he's only stolen like 6 stolen bases. He's only stolen like 6 bases this year. And so they're going to really need him to actually get it going, get on base, steal bases, score runs, so that their team can get their scrappy identity back, get like one of their best players back to form so that they can actually make a good run. All right, these next few are going to be for a different reason than the other ones. And so starting off with the Detroit Tigers, it's going to be Tarek Skubal that they really need to show out, because Skubal is one of the best pitchers in the game. and he's a free agent this offseason. And I really don't think that he's going to sign back with his team unless they do something really big. So they're either going to need to start winning a lot of games right as the second half hits so they can actually establish himself as a contender. And Skubal's going to be a big part of that since he's their best pitcher. And they're going to need good pitching if they're going to win these games. And so if they don't get good pitching from Skubal and they lose a lot of games start the second half of the season, then I think it would be best for them to trade Skubal. And if they don't, then they probably don't make the playoffs and he walks in the offseason for nothing. So they're really going to need to start winning games right as the second half hits, and Skubal is going to be at the center of their winning efforts. So next up, the last AL Central team I'll be talking about is the Minnesota Twins. And for them, it's the same thing with the Tigers and Skubal, because I think the Twins is Joe Ryan. Now, I don't believe Joe Ryan is a free agent this offseason, but he has been involved in trade talks the last year and a half. He's been one of the premier starting pitchers on the trade block. And the Twins right now, I think, actually hold a playoff spot. And so they're going to need, same with the Tigers, they're going to need to win a lot of games coming right out of the second half hot. And so Joe Ryan, the centerpiece of this rotation, he is going to need to perform well in every start that he has if they want to be able to keep him so that they can actually win games. Because if the Twins trade Joe Ryan, I don't think they're making the playoffs this year. It's the same thing with the Tigers and Skubal. Tigers trade Skubal, I don't think they make the playoffs this year. But, yeah, I just think the Twins are going to really need Joe Ryan to show out like he has been all year if they're going to win games right out of the deadline or right out of the All-Star break and actually make a run at the playoffs this year. So in case you can't tell by the change in outfit, I'm filming this part the next day, but we're moving on to the AL West with the Houston Astros. And for them, it's the same thing with Joe Ryan and the Twins and Skubal with the Tigers. I think it's Yordan Alvarez for the Astros because Yordan is a big-time trade piece for the Astros since they are not really contending right now. Well, they actually are contending, but they're not a super competitive team. And Yordan is the identity of this team, best hitter in the game right now. If they trade him, that sparks a full-blown rebuild for this team. So they are going to need Yordan to play, keep playing the way he's playing, as the best hitter in baseball, if they want to compete this year and not have to trade him away and spark another devastating rebuild. Next up is the Athletics with outfielder Lawrence Butler, and this is a big one because the thing with the A's, the reason why they jumped from laughingstock of the league to competitive again is because of how many young players have been so good for this team. Nick Kurtz, he is one of the best players in the game already. Tyler Soderstrom, Shea Langoliers, the list goes on and on. Brent Rooker too. I know he's not necessarily young, but he's a franchise type player for this team. He got an extension after the 2024 season, and so did outfielder Lawrence Butler. And he has been one of the worst hitters in the league since he got that extension. And I think really all it's going to take for the A's to actually become a force to be reckoned with is for Butler to actually get it going and play like he did before for the 2024 offseason. This is another really important one. This is the Seattle Mariners, and they are going to need Cal Raleigh to step it up more than pretty much any team needs a player to step it up because Cal Raleigh was the identity of this Mariners team that last year was the best the team has been in 24 seasons. They almost made it to the World Series for the first time in franchise history last season. You could argue that it was the best season in Mariners franchise history aside from the 2001 season, and it probably was. And at the center of that was Cal Raleigh's 60 homer campaign, AL MVP runner-up. And he has been atrocious, to say the least, this season. He has had an insane fall-off. And that is why the Mariners, have not been as good as last season. It's because their, franchise player who was so good last year has been so bad this year. And if he can actually get back to form, start hitting like he did in 2025 that made him look like one of the best players in the league, then this team can get back to their 2025 form and make another big run. Another really important one to round out the American League West and American League in general is the Texas Rangers with outfielder Wyatt Langford. When the Rangers selected Langford 4th overall in the 2023 draft and brought him up less than a year after he was drafted, like he was a member of their opening day roster in 2024, it looked like he was going to be like the next great outfielder in the MLB, and that them coming fresh off of a World Series were going to be so good, and they haven't made the playoffs since their 2023 World Series run. But Wyatt Langford has been good in his first 2 seasons in the league, hasn't been great, hasn't been the elite outfielder that he can be. And so this season he struggled with injuries, but it looks like the best statistical production that he has put up so far in his MLB career. And so if he can continue putting up numbers like that for this team and actually be the franchise caliber player they drafted him to be, then this team can transform from like team in the race to team that like has one of the biggest targets on their backs. All right, next up we have the Atlanta Braves to start off the National League. And for them, this is going to be the first one that's not a specific player. For them, it's going to be the whole pitching staff, because the Braves offense has been booming this season. I mean, Matt Olson, Drake Baldwin, Michael Harris, all those guys have been absolutely balling out. And the thing is that the Braves, it doesn't matter how good their offense is. They don't need anything more on offense. They need pitching. The Braves back in 2023 had the greatest offense in MLB history, and they got bounced from the first round by their division rivals because their pitching sucked. So if the pitching can just get it going, they need someone to like help Chris Sale in the rotation. He can't do everything himself. He only pitches every 5th day. So they're going to need everyone else in the rotation and just in the like pitching staff in general to actually step up and pitch well to complement the offense so that they can keep winning ball games. All right, next up we have the Miami Marlins, and for them it's going to be outfielder Jacob Marzi for a pretty significant reason, because this Marlins team has become like one of the best teams in the National League this season because they've had so many young guys step up on offense, like Otto Lopez, Liam Hicks. I think Stower started off the season like a little cold, but he started to heat up. But Jacob Marzi, who burst onto the scene as a rookie in 2025, has been very poor at the plate in 2026. And so if they can get him like back to form to complement like the incredible efforts on offensive guys like Otto Lopez, Liam Hicks, Kyle Stowers, etc., then they will start to see even more like jumps on offense. They can be one of the scariest offenses in the league if Marzi gets going, and they can just start like absolutely obliterating baseballs in every single part of the lineup, and then they can just start winning games and beating teams over the head with a super strong offensive attack. Next up is the Philadelphia Phillies, and for them it's pretty obvious one, Trey Turner, because this team paid this man $300 million back in the 2022 offseason, and he has been awful this year. And you know what? They need to give him another standing ovation like they did in 2023 when he was really struggling, because like when they gave him that ovation, Philly fans, who can be some of the nastiest fans in sports, they gave him that ovation. He just started absolutely raking and really helped out the team. This Phillies team started off the season really rough, and they've been really good ever since then, but Trey Turner has still been struggling. And so if he can get going, like when they paid him $300 million, they needed him to be one of the most like focal points for this team, and he has been terrible. So if he can actually get it going and start playing really good baseball like we know he can, that he's done for the past decade in Major League Baseball, then this team will see even more success on the field and win more ball games and become like the great team that they can be again. To round out the NL East, we move to another really breakout team this year in the Washington Nationals. And they are going to be the second team where it's no one individual player. It's going to be the entire bullpen for the Washington Nationals, because I'm pretty sure they have the worst bullpen in baseball. They've blown like 15 to 20 saves this season, which is downright unacceptable, and it would be such a shame if they wasted the offense that had the best slugging percentage in the MLB in the first half of the season. Because the Nationals have been so good at the plate. James Wood, C.J. Abrams, Luis Garcia Jr., Curtis Mead, so many studs on that offense. Foster Griffin has done an incredible job in the rotation. This bullpen has been one of the worst we've ever seen. If the Nationals had even an average bullpen, they would be a top 3 team in the National League right now. But their bullpen is so atrocious that they are not even in a playoff spot right now. And so if they can just get it going and even get it to be average or even slightly above average, they can start winning these games that they score a lot of runs in, and then they keep piling up those wins and getting back into the race and eventually hopefully make the playoffs. Next up, we have the Chicago Cubs, and it's going to be starting pitcher Edward Cabrera for them for two main reasons. One, because they need a really, really good pitcher to help complement the offense, led by PCA and Seiya Suzuki. PCA looks like an NL MVP candidate all over again. He's been so dang good this year. And also the second reason why is because of how much they gave up to bring in Edward Cabrera this offseason. Traded Owen Casey and two other really good prospects to get Cabrera. They didn't do that for him to be an average starter like he has been this year. And when they get him back in mid-August, they're going to need him to hit the ground running to give them a strong rotational attack to help complement that offense so that they can actually start winning ball games with their good pitchers on the mound. I guess they already are winning ball games with their good pitchers on the mound. But when Cabrera comes back, if he can just be that good, and so the offense doesn't have to score a bunch of runs for them to win, so he can hand it off to the bullpen with the offense having given him run support, and so they can then win those ball games that he's pitching in, and so they can just keep piling on more wins. Next up for the Reds is shortstop Elly De La Cruz, not because he's been bad this year, but because they need this man to play absurd baseball down the stretch if they want any shot to make the playoffs. They were a team that I was considering leaving out of this video because they're 8 games back from a wild card spot, but they have all the talent in the world. Actually just extended Chase Burns today, that I think they still have a shot to make the playoffs, a shot greater than 0. But it is going to take so much for them to get back into the race in a competitive National League wild card. They're going to need Elly De La Cruz to play absurd baseball down the stretch, like I said, look like an MVP candidate, put up monster numbers to lead this team to actually win so many baseball games just for them to have a shot to make the playoffs this year. Next up, we have the Milwaukee Brewers, and they are going to need outfielder Sal Frelick to come through because this team has so few, they have so few weaknesses because Jacob Mizorowski, Kyle Harrison have been so good at highlighting that rotation for them this year. Jake Bauers, Bryce Terang, Christian Yelich have been so good headlining the offense this year. And Sal Frelick is the backbone, not the backbone of the team necessarily, but he's a perfect representation of why the Brewers are so good every year, because they just consistently pump out rosters that look unspectacular but have young players with a lot of potential who then actualize that potential and play really good baseball. Sal Frelick hasn't done that for the Brewers this year. So if they can get him to actualize his potential and play like the player that he can be, then this team is going to be scary. Next up, we have the Pittsburgh Pirates, and it's going to be DH Marcell Ozuna. I think that's pretty obvious because the Pirates have looked really, really good this season. Obviously the rotation is headlined by Paul Skeens and Braxton Ashcraft. The offense is headlined by really good offseason acquisitions like Brandon Lau and Ryan O'Hearn. But the thing is that Marcell Ozuna was supposed to be the big offseason acquisition for the Pirates this offseason after a monster year in Atlanta last season. But he has not been. He has been hot garbage this season. And they are going to need him to not be hot garbage on the stretch and actually hit really, really good, hit like his Atlanta self, which he has not done his whole time in Pittsburgh this year. Because this team is currently out of a wild card spot. Connor Griffin is not going to be coming back this season. They are going to need everyone to step up, even if they're already playing well. And Marcell Ozuna hasn't been playing well. So they're going to need him to start playing well, start playing like his Atlanta self, like I said, and start hitting bombs and driving in runs like we know he can do, so that this team can actually start scoring more runs and winning ball games, help replace the production of Connor Griffin, who's out right now, so that they can get back into the race. Next up is the St. Louis Cardinals. For them at shortstop, Mason Wynn. Now, myself, like a lot of others, did not expect the Cardinals to have any shot to make the playoffs this year. But with guys like J.J. Weatherholt, Jordan Walker, and Alec Burleson headlining this offense, they have become one of the best teams in the National League. Maybe not one of the best, but they have a legitimate chance to make the playoffs with how much young talent they have. Now, Mason Wynn is supposed to be one of the cornerstones of that young talent like he has been the past couple seasons, but he has not lived up to that this season. And if he can, and that they create an unstoppable force with J.J. Weatherholt, Jordan Walker, and then Mason Wynn gets it going, then this team will be so good on offense. They will have so much young talent. they will become so much better. They are already a really good baseball team. They will become so much better if Mason Wynn can actually get it going and start playing like the player he has been before and the player that he can be. The final division in this video is going to be the National League West, starting with the Arizona Diamondbacks and its shortstop Geraldo Perdomo, because Perdomo was one of the best shortstops in the league last season. Like, he has always been a really, really good defender, and he's been good at stealing bases, but combining that with a 20 homer, 100 RBI, 300 average campaign last year made him like one of the best shortstops and one of the best all-around players in the league. And he has been way less than that this year. The power has been zapped, the contact has been zapped, and he just doesn't look like the same player. But he can get back to that, I believe, because of how good he was last season. And they are going to need him to. The Diamondbacks are going to need him to, because this offense hasn't been too great this year, and the offense is what has headlined the Diamondbacks for the past couple seasons when they've been competitive. And Perdomo was at the center of that last year, so they're going to need him to get back to that to help the offense out to actually win games and make a run. All right, so the Los Angeles Dodgers, the best team in the league because of how much they buy players, and we're going to be talking about a player that they bought that has been awful this year, and that's Kyle Tucker. I guess he hasn't been awful this year, but he's been very average. He is not paid like he's not played like the $60 million a year player that the Dodgers paid him to be. He has looked like an average player this year. I mean, Mookie has gotten back to form. Mookie looked washed at the beginning of this season, but he looks a lot better lately. Ohtani is probably going to win his 4th straight MVP. Freddie Freeman, another like all-star campaign. He has been very, very good for this team. So many of the players that they paid good money for have delivered for the Dodgers this year, but Kyle Tucker has not. And if he can get it going, this team will be so scary, and they will likely be on the trajectory for their 3rd straight World Series championship. All right, and last but not least is the San Diego Padres. And for them, it's not one specific player, it's the whole entire offense. Just straight up the offense, because it's been atrocious this season. It's honestly been sad to watch, because when it comes to Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, and Jackson Merrill, 3 players on big-time contracts, the Padres have handed contracts out to those guys that are like, when you add up the total money of the contracts, it is almost $800 million. So this is like, they are supposed to be like contributing so much to this team. And Manny Machado's been the best of those 3 this year, and he's been exactly average. In fact, he's hitting below 200 right now, which is just atrocious. Like I said, like, it's just sad to watch, because this pitching staff is so good. I mean, Mason Miller is so electric as the closer. And the Padres are one of the like funnest teams to watch when they actually put together watchable baseball. But they haven't been watchable this year because the offense absolutely sucks. So if the offense can actually get it going and start playing good so that they can win ball games, the Padres will be fun to watch again and they can make a run.